Welcome back. My name is Aaron and this is MindScience episode 16. So last week I posted a video titled The New School Law of Attraction. And in that video, I talked about the idea that inner healing and shadow work is really the most important component to manifestation. And as I scrolled through the comments of the video, I must have seen at least 20 different comments from people saying that they don't really know how to do healing or shadow work, and asking me if I would do a video detailing how the process plays out. And although I already have a number of videos about shadow work, which I'll put links to in the description box below, I figured it might be relevant to do another one since the topic seems to be trending right now. So in this video, I'm going to give you my personal 3-step approach to doing shadow work. So before we get into the 3 stages of shadow work, let's quickly recap what exactly shadow work is. Now, the term the shadow was first coined by the famous psychologist Carl Jung, who observed through working with his clients that there's a part of the human psyche that actually stores our painful memories and traumas outside of our conscious awareness. So anytime that you've had an emotional reaction to something that was seen as negative, your subconscious mind believes that this is a part of you that you don't want to see any longer. So it then relegates that part of your psyche into an energetic dungeon in your subconscious mind, where it slowly begins to wreak havoc on your perception of reality. Any part of yourself that you believe is unacceptable, undesirable, or unlovable gets banished into the shadow. The problem is that you can never actually be separated from any part of yourself. One of the primary teachings of A Course in Miracles says, "No idea leaves its source." So when you label any part of you as bad, you are the one who experiences the badness of it. This is because all creation is extension. So in the same way that each one of us is an extension of the source consciousness, we also have the creative power to extend parts of ourselves into space and time. One of the creations we have the power to project into space and time is our emotions. Every emotion is a creation of your mind that retains a portion of your consciousness. And whenever the creator doesn't want to look at a part of itself that it has created, it polarizes that energy to the negative. So any negative emotion we feel without accepting it as part of ourselves becomes relegated to the shadow. This negatively polarized energy creates suffering for the source until it is able to reconcile that energy back into itself again. This process of reintegrating negatively polarized parts of our psyche is what we call shadow work. When people continue to hate an aspect of themselves, they continue to charge that energy with negative polarity, and eventually, it can become a kind of energetic entity in their psyche. These are often referred to as elementals or demons. These energetic entities begin to take on a consciousness of their own, and if this practice of self-rejection continues forward, it can become a type of split personality or demonic possession that has the power to completely control the human psyche at times. But the entity that is crying out is actually a portion of the person's own consciousness, which is attacking itself because it is being seen as separate. The only way to heal this fragmentation of the psyche is to begin by looking at it and meeting it with loving awareness. Whenever you look at a part of you that wasn't accepted when it was created, you heal the separation and bring that part of yourself back into oneness again. So shadow work can be effectively summarized as simply looking at parts of yourself that you had not seen before. So you can see just how terrible it can become to allow these fragmented parts of yourself to remain hidden from your awareness. There is no end to the insanity you can create by consistently hating parts of yourself. And so this is why Eckhart Tolle refers to the shadow as the pain body. Because your mind cannot know actual reality. It can only know your interpretation of reality. So it sees all of the painful emotions that you experience and takes a snapshot of them and files it away as useful data for the future. So the next time you encounter the same stimulus, your mind then brings that reaction up to sort of remind you how it thinks you should react. And this is what we call a trigger. A trigger is your mind's way that it thinks it's helping you navigate through reality. And it doesn't know that it's actually just causing you to suffer. So most people have accumulated such enormous pain bodies that they can't even simply drive in the car without being constantly triggered to anger, or be around more than 2 people at once without feeling tremendous social anxiety. These broken parts of us are always crying out to be healed and reconciled. But because we don't know that that's actually what's happening when we get triggered, then we continue to see these parts of us as separate from us, and therefore unacceptable. So shadow work is not about fixing yourself, because there's never been anything wrong with you. There are no wrong feelings, because all feelings are equally valid. You don't control the way that you feel, because your feelings simply respond to the level of accuracy of your perception. So because of this, all negative emotions must be met with love and understanding, because they're actually messengers of truth. So the next important question is, when is the appropriate time to do shadow work? And the answer is very simply, whenever you feel triggered. Now, it's certainly appropriate to dedicate time out of your day to do healing work and introspection, but there's no better time to do shadow work than exactly when you feel triggered. Any moment that you feel uncomfortable for any reason, no matter how subtle or extreme the emotion might be, is an opportunity for healing. A Course in Miracles says, "Only loving thoughts are true, and everything else is a cry for help and healing." So whenever you feel anger, or sadness, or anxiety, or insecurity in any moment, that is a broken part of you that is asking for healing. So now that we've talked about what shadow work is and when to do it, let's talk about the 3 stages of shadow work. The first stage of shadow work is simply awareness. Becoming aware of what your triggers are is the first and most important step, because awareness is what brings healing. So when you feel triggered, rather than looking for ways to avoid feeling your pain, become completely present with what you're feeling and look straight at it. Begin to ask the feeling who it is representing. And as you inquire into your pain, it will begin to reveal the beliefs, fears, and memories that it's representing. Whether or not you have access to the exact root of that trauma, you can still begin to heal it simply by allowing yourself to feel it. If possible, you want to trigger the emotional reaction associated with that trauma and allow yourself to feel it. The greater the feeling, the greater the healing. If a wave of painful emotions comes on, embrace it. Allow yourself to be broken. If you need to cry or scream or put your face into a pillow, then give yourself the space to do that. All pain must be felt out of the body, and simply by feeling your pain with a loving awareness, you allow it to be released back to God. The second stage of shadow work is forgiveness. All healing of any kind is an act of forgiveness, because forgiveness is reconciliation, dissolving the illusion of separation with love. So you want to meet your pain with compassion and understanding. While you're feeling the pain, ask it to forgive you for rejecting it for so long. You want to imagine this pain as a hated aspect of yourself that has been hiding in the shadows for so long, too afraid to step out into the light and be seen. Just like a wounded or frightened animal, it will hiss and bark at you when you come near it. It believes that it is too hideous to be seen. That part of yourself needs to hear that you are sorry for hating it, and you're ready to welcome it back home again. By consistently meeting that part of you with love, you will slowly coax it out of its hiding spot. Love allows everything its natural expression, so you want to approach these parts of your shadow with the exact same attitude. And the third and final stage of shadow work is one that I personally believe is an absolute game changer in terms of accelerating the healing process. And the third stage of shadow work is what I call integration. Integration is to spend a few minutes after each healing session to say a deep and genuine thank you towards the pain. To see that part of you as something that served you rather than hurt you is to integrate it back into the self again. So spend a few minutes saying a genuine thank you towards your pain for showing you an unseen part of you. Thank it for showing you a part of yourself that you were not loving. Thank it for teaching you an invaluable lesson that you could not have learned any other way. To forgive the past is to see the gift that it gave you and the lesson that it offered you, and realize that it was always working for your highest good. Gratitude is an extremely powerful healing energy, because it says that not only do you love that part of yourself, but you're actually grateful for it. What greater message of love could you possibly send? So integration is to learn the lesson that was offered to you through the pain and therefore complete the final reconciliation with that part of yourself. One final thing I want to say about shadow work is that it is not something that can be rushed. So you might go through a really intense healing session, and then the ego will be in a rush to claim that it's completely healed and free of that trigger now. But this is the worst thing you can do for your healing, because you never want to approach parts of your shadow with the attitude of, "Oh, come here and let me love you," so that you'll disappear forever. That's not love. Love is patient. Love is kind. It doesn't even ask something to change, but simply loves it exactly as it is. And that alone is what brings the healing. So have patience with yourself and trust the process. You may have a lot more repressed energy inside of you than you assumed. It's taken me many months and sometimes even years to heal my biggest traumas. But the moment you become willing to look at your pain with the eyes of love, the healing process has begun. And once it begins, it cannot be reversed. People use any means necessary to bypass their pain. They turn to drugs, alcohol, partying, hookup culture, wealth, and success to avoid facing the darkness they feel inside. Many people in the spiritual community even turn to spiritual vices to avoid facing their pain. And although shadow work might not be as sexy as manifestation or get as many YouTube clicks, healing is where all the gold is. And those who really want it are willing to earn it. Everyone is rushing through life at 100 miles an hour, going from experience to experience without taking a moment of true introspection. We break our psychological bones into pieces and hardly give a second thought to actually healing them. And so we become a fragmentation of our true self. We are living like haunted houses, filled with the ghosts and the demons of our past. And we become so accustomed to this background of pain and suffering that we live with that life has to bring us down to rock bottom before we're finally willing to face our darkness. So please don't wait for life to break you. Begin doing the work now, because I promise you that healing offers you everything that you're looking for. A heart that is truly at peace with itself is the greatest treasure that one can ever find. The universe is benevolent, and it wants to give you everything your heart desires. But to receive its abundance, you first have to let go of all the pain and anger you're holding on to first. So make the choice today to stop avoiding and bypassing your pain. Heal yourself. Put in the work that it takes to find true happiness. Don't even do it for the material rewards that await you on the other side, because the motivation won't be enough. Don't do it for any other reason than to be truly free, because freedom is your birthright. So you cannot look to anything outside of you to save yourself. Your external world is merely a reflection of your internal world. So make the tree good, and its fruit will be delicious and sweet.